Now, I don't think that the left really cares about crime at all. Either they want to release all the prisoners just to create chaos so they can take over, or they think that everybody is a victim of poverty who ever committed a crime. But that's not true. We can take what's going on in Baltimore, where they're actually discussing a bill on whether or not a felony can be applied to someone under the age of 25, because your brain is not fully developed until you're 25, so they think that is wrong.
Well, Mary, that juvenile crime bill up for debate today in the House is in line with Vincent Schiraldi, comments made by Vincent Schiraldi, the new Secretary of the Department of Juvenile Services. Now, he has said criminals should not be exposed to the adult justice system until they turn 21 or 25. And now tonight, a closer look at that bill. More and more violent crime in Baltimore City and across the state involving juveniles. By the end of February, nearly 24 youthful offenders have been charged with either homicide, robbery, or a weapons charge so far this year. In Annapolis, the debate over accountability. The Democrats pushing their own juvenile justice reform laws. A hearing held today on the Youth Accountability and Safety Act, House Bill 1180. If passed, the bill would prevent anyone under the age of 25 from facing first-degree murder charges. The bill working its way through the House now, but Republican Senator William Folden already calling the bill irresponsible in its approach to holding juveniles responsible for their criminal actions.
They know the difference between right and wrong. They just aren't being held accountable, and they don't care about right or wrong.
I really don't understand this, especially because the left has explained to me that children are able to transition and pick their own gender, but yet a 24-year-old doesn't know that murder is bad. That doesn't make sense. And then we have out of Atlanta, Georgia, where Stacey Abrams' nonprofit organization is starting a hashtag saying Stop Cop City, which pretty much is saying, yeah, we're not standing with the police on this one. We're standing with the Antifa terrorists who are not even from Atlanta and some not even from this country. Go figure that. And then we have what's going on in New York, where $6 million is being given out to Black Lives Matter rioters because they didn't like how they were arrested.
The city has agreed to pay millions of dollars to protesters who were aggressively boxed in by police officers during the George Floyd demonstrations back in 2020.
CBS 2's Allie Bauman spoke to protesters involved in this historic lawsuit.
They started hitting people with batons. They started ramming people with the bikes. They started spraying tear gas. There were cops on top of cars that were punching demonstrators. It was terror.
Samira and Amali Sierra were among the hundreds of people peacefully protesting in the Bronx on June 4th, 2020, after the murder of George Floyd. Just after the city's then 8 p.m. curfew, the Sierra sisters say NYPD officers began boxing the crowd in.
They just kept moving in from both ends of the street, and they were crushing our bodies together.
It's a tactic known as kettling.
Many people were, at that point, like pleading for their lives. I can't breathe, right? Open it up. We're not fighting back.
Then came the mass arrests.
I was body slammed by about 6 officers.
And while exercising that right to not be brutalized and killed by the police, you yourself are brutalized.
Lance Clark and Joshua Moskowitz filed a class action lawsuit on the protesters' behalf. Now, almost 3 years later, New York City has agreed to pay more than $21,000 to each person who was there. If all the protesters participate, the city could end up paying upwards of $7 million. The lawyers say this is the largest ever settlement in a mass arrest lawsuit.
We think that reflects an acknowledgement that what happened here was a human rights violation.
A spokesman for the NYPD told us much of its policies and training for policing large-scale demonstrations have been re-envisioned since, and the NYPD remains committed to continually improving its practices.
This doesn't make sense because no officer was injured and there was only minor injuries from the protesters, which kind of seems like it was a pretty much good, safe arrest. And I want to remind you that these protesters, quote unquote, are individuals who were not even supposed to be in the streets. They had a curfew set at this time and they violated that curfew. Let me know in the comment section down below, what do you think? Do you think crime is on the rise because of these sorry DAs? Or do you think the only reason why crime is on the rise is because poor people are everywhere and that's why? I'm your host, TJ Evans, with another installment of the TJ Evans Show. Y'all remember to do the YouTube and Rumble thing. Subscribe to the Royal Family Studios page. Also, check out my book on Amazon, The Diary of Marvin DeWayne. Y'all stay safe, stay prayed up. Don't take my word for gold. Y'all do your own research. Peace.